Memories of Vieste in Puglia, Italy, from my German book Kleine Reisen ins Glück, Little Journeys to Happiness. The Garlic Express. In Vieste, the heart of Gargano province, there is little danger of going hungry. The countless ristoranti, trattorie, osterie and pizzerias tucked away in the romantic old town have already geared up for the wave of summer visitors that will arrive in July. Everywhere, signs in all imaginable languages proclaim authentic Apulian cooking, only here. But where do the locals eat? Across the old town in the somewhat newer neighborhood, one such place is Ristorante San Michele. For the moment, the dining room is still empty. By Italian standards, we are once again far too early. But I recognize a quiet, understated class that so often promises good food. What's more, the kitchen door is open and we can see 3 cheerful women busy with the preparations. One of them gives us an encouraging smile, and moments later we find ourselves inside the restaurant. The waiter, who seems to be the owner as well, patiently explains the menu in Italian several times. We decide for too much, but we couldn't have chosen better. A crisp salad with fresh herbs followed by a green bean soup with potatoes, chunks of country bread soaked in the broth, garlic and exceptionally good olive oil. Then comes fritto misto, calamari, scampi and sardines in an ultra-light beer batter, served on a sheet of paper to soak up any excess oil. The little fried fish are beautifully crisp, not greasy and absolutely delicious. For dessert, a slice of irresistible fig and ricotta tart. From now on, this is officially our favorite place for dinner. The 2 gently sloping beaches make it easy to walk across the fine sand straight into the wonderfully clear waters of the Adriatic. The sea here is exceptionally clean and has repeatedly been awarded the Blue Flag for its outstanding water quality. Between Vieste and Peschici, windsurfers and kitesurfers make the most of the reliable breeze and lively waves. Along the coast you can also see still the ancient fishing structures known as trabucchi. We'd been wondering about the purpose of these delicate wooden constructions perched along the shoreline. Their ingenious design allows a large net to be lowered horizontally into the sea and then raised just as a school of fish passes by. In spring, the fish migrate south from the Venetian lagoon. In autumn, they return north again. And when they happen to pass this very spot, snap! In German, trabucchi are rather bluntly nicknamed fisherman's gallows. East of Peschici, on the rocky coast of Punta San Nicola, Domenico Ottaviano cooks at Al Trabucco da Mimmi, following the recipes of Nonna Lucia. Aperitivo begins with rock food, the coastal version of street food, raw fish with carpaccio, fried anchovies and little bruschetta breads topped with Apulian seafood, all prepared with impeccably fresh ingredients. Fresh from the gallows then, let's give it a try. Perhaps everything tastes even fresher here on the rustic wooden terrace right above the sea, overlooking water that shimmers in 100 different shades of turquoise. A wonderful place. Polpo scottato, puree di carote, lenticchie e cipolla dolce al forno, seared octopus on carrot puree with crispy lentils and sweet oven-roasted onions. What a magnificent lunch excursion! In Vieste we are delighted to discover that they still exist, those tiny 3-wheeled trucks that rattle noisily through the streets. They are called apes, more like mopeds with a cargo bed than proper trucks. Most of the time they are driven by elderly men, with or without a dog sitting next to them. Occasionally the driver's wife is squeezed in as well, but this gentleman is traveling solo on a green mission. His little ape is piled high with all kinds of vegetables to sell at the piazza. Zucchini, potatoes, white onions, crates of lettuce, tomatoes, whatever happens to be in season. This is obviously his regular spot, because we see him here every single day. Whenever there are no customers, he sits on the brown wooden bench outside the salumeria, a delicatessen selling cured meats, ham, cheese and all sorts of irresistible treats for everyday shopping. He must be well into his 80s. His face is weather-beaten. He has probably spent his entire life working the fields, bringing his harvest into town to sell. I imagine he'll keep doing that until he either drops or can no longer drive. It can't be easy, especially at his age, but it keeps him busy and hopefully earns him enough to get by. His customers clearly look forward to seeing both him and his green cargo. Another elderly man who had been standing off to one side slowly edges closer. He clearly has no intention of buying anything. He simply wants to be part of the little gathering around the vegetable vehicle. He has brought a large umbrella which he now opens. No, the vegetable seller doesn't want to shelter under the umbrella. He is no softy. The rain freshens both up, the vegetables and the old man. The weather surprises us almost every day with brief summer showers, warm, gentle, and over almost as soon as they begin. We've settled ourselves on the bench outside the Salumeria. Being city people in neatly pressed summer blouses, we are quite happy to enjoy the protection of the red and white awning while it rains. A few more older men drift over. They exchange the latest gossip or simply sit there together as if on a living room sofa watching whatever happens across the street. For a place where almost nothing is happening, it's surprisingly entertaining. Take the woman standing in the open balcony doorway. What's with those provocative movements? Is she trying to impress the old man? Is she waiting for customers? Is it a private apartment, a shop, or perhaps an establishment? Who knows? And what's going on at the post office? The queue stretches right out onto the pavement. It seems to do so every morning as soon as the post office opens. Perhaps this is simply another social meeting place where people conveniently combine catching up with friends and the excuse of taking care of banking, postal business, or whatever errand they can think of. One almost gets the impression that some of the older people are standing in line simply because it's entertaining and because they have nowhere else they particularly need to be. Jean emerges from the third tabaki shop, looking disappointed. These little tobacco shops used to sell stamps alongside cigarettes and magazines. Nobody sells stamps outside the post office anymore. What's going on? My friends in the States will be waiting forever for postcards from here. I'll just mail them once we are back in Hamburg. They'll probably get there sooner anyway. I'm certainly not standing in that post office queue again. What's so terrible about it? Don't you remember last year in Matinata? I dutifully took a number, but it certainly wasn't a winning ticket. The queue simply refused to move. People were sweating and complaining. Then, without saying a word, the clerk servicing my line left his counter. Had he simply gone on a break? Had he wandered across to the cafe for an espresso because it had all become too much? After a while, the woman in front of me completely lost it. The clerk from the next counter had to come out and calm her down. Naturally, then, that queue stopped moving too. In the end, everybody was shouting. At least that's what it sounded like. The people from both queues became one giant muddle. I held firmly onto my ticket until finally my clerk returned. He calmly resumed his seat behind the counter and suspiciously wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, as if he'd simply taken a lunch break in the middle of the busiest rush. On our excursion to Manfredonia, we can't help laughing. We simply have to send Inge and Manfred a postcard from here, regardless of whether there is a queue at the post office. King Manfred, son and successor of Frederick II, founded the town in 1256, and his name appears on almost every street corner. Our friends are sure to get a laugh out of that. Dear Manfred, greetings from Manfredonia. Here you can dine like a king, enjoy fish from the Gulf of Manfredonia, stay at the Hotel Manfredi, and then stroll along Corso Manfredi, the elegant promenade with its unmistakable southern Italian charm. Or perhaps he won't find it funny. You know how vain Inge's husband is. So we settle for an entirely ordinary postcard instead. We go looking for somewhere to have breakfast. Here too the cafes and bars are filled almost exclusively with men. Manfredis everywhere. We are not really in the mood for that, so we simply pop into a panificeria bakery shop and buy a few freshly baked mini pizzas to eat on the street. The moment we bite into the first warm, fragrant little pizza, we turn right around and march straight back inside for more. They are that good. We stuff ourselves shamelessly. The Manfredis watch us with amused curiosity. Go ahead and stare. Your wives aren't all stick thin either. Good food leaves its mark on all of us eventually. Well fed and thoroughly content, we wander through the street market. So many beautiful fresh fish. I only wish I had a kitchen to cook them in. The fruit and vegetables look a little battered. Presumably, only the finest produce gets polished up and exported. Most impressive of all is the garlic, sold in enormous bunches. What on earth do they do with all those long leafy stalks? Fry them? Boil them? Jean has an idea. They'll braid the garlic into plates. You see that all the time at markets. Just then, one of those rattling little apes drives past, loaded sky high with dirty garlic stalks. I simply have to take a photograph. It suddenly dawns on me that garlic grows underground, rather like a root. Strange, I had never really stopped to think about that before. A smaller braid of garlic simply has to come home with us. Our suitcase is already bulging with superb Apulian olive oil, bags of orecchiette, those delightful little ear-shaped pasta, and taralli, the crisp savory biscuits flavored with fennel seeds that are perfect for nibbling with a glass of wine in the evening. That's it. Time to pack up. Tomorrow we head for Mattinata. You'll find the whole story in my book Kleine Reisen ins Glück, for now only available in German on Amazon.de. Copyright 2026, text and voice by Elke Voss.